Blue Abyss. Part 1, The Deep End. Nora never liked deep water. She'd grown up in pools, swim team, lifeguard certs, synchronized routines, but no matter how calm the surface, something about the bottom made her skin crawl. Not the depth itself. Not drowning. But the sense that something could be watching from below, unseen, silent. Still, she took the job at Marrow Lake Swim Club. Money was tight, and the club paid double what city pools offered. Private, they said. Exclusive. Old stone bathhouse, saltwater pool, surrounded by woods and fog. Only a few elite families used it now, fewer every year. The first day, the manager, Mr. Vale, gave her a silent tour. He had eyes like wet ash and fingers that twitched even when still. He said little, except, "No one swims after dusk. Ever. If they ask, you say it's for sanitation." Then he handed her a key ring heavy with rusted brass. The pool was enormous. Olympic length. Cold. Lined with black tiles that shimmered green beneath the water. No diving board, no slides, just depth and stillness. A faint, constant hum came from somewhere beneath the grates. The filtration system was ancient, hidden below a locked door marked pump. The first week was slow. 1 or 2 families. An older man who swam endless laps without surfacing. A child who never spoke but stared at the pool like it spoke to her. Nora chalked it up to eccentric rich people. But every morning before the pool opened, the water was different. Too cold. Smelling faintly of brine. And something always floated at the edge, a strand of hair, long and black, even when no one had swum the day before. She started skimming twice a day. Tried not to think about it. On Friday, she saw it. She was doing a lap check when she spotted a ripple near lane 5. Not wind, something moving beneath. She leaned over the edge. Nothing. Then, a face. Just for a blink. A pale shape, 5 feet down, mouth open, black hair floating like seaweed. Then it was gone. She stumbled back and nearly fell in. No one else was around. The cameras showed nothing. Mr. Vale said, "Don't linger near the deep end. It's hungry there." She laughed, thinking it a joke. But that night, as she left, she glanced back at the water. And in the shimmer of the moonlight, something blinked. From 30 feet down. Part 2, Underwater Eyes. The next morning, Nora arrived before sunrise. The water was perfectly still, too still. Even with the wind picking up over the trees, not a single ripple moved across the surface. The lane lines were taut and silent, the depth markers dull and chipped, 3 ft. 5 ft. 8 ft. 13 ft. 20 feet. But it was the deep end, farthest from the entry steps, that felt wrong. She knelt by lane 5 again. The tile was cracked here, one of the few spots with damage. She peered down, expecting nothing. But something looked back. At first, she thought it was her reflection. But it didn't move when she did. It was a face. Pale. Slightly too long. Wide, lidless eyes. Hair undulating like black kelp. Mouth open, just a little, revealing nothing but darkness behind it. Then the eyes blinked. Not once. Twice. Sideways. She gasped and pulled back. Her head spun. When she looked again, the water was empty. She told herself she imagined it. That it was leftover chlorine fumes. Or fatigue. Or her brain playing tricks with the light. She told herself a lot of things. Until the girl in the blue swimsuit showed up. Her name was Mia. Maybe 10 years old. Didn't speak. Didn't smile. Just stood at the edge of the pool, every day at 4 p.m., and stared down at the water. Nora watched her from the lifeguard stand. The girl never got in. But she always stood by lane 5. And once, just once, Nora swore she saw Mia tilt her head and mouth something toward the pool. Not toward her reflection, but as if speaking to someone below. That night, Nora stayed after hours. She hid in the supply closet and waited until the lights shut off. The air turned heavy, the water took on a strange glow, faintly green, like algae that wasn't there. Then, without a ripple, a hand broke the surface in lane 5. It was pale and jointed wrong. The fingers bent like sea grass, moving independently. A second hand followed. Then the top of a head. Hair long, black, streaming like oil. Nora tried to scream, but her throat closed. The figure pulled itself halfway out. Not a swimmer. Not a person. Something older. Its eyes opened, milky, huge, fish-like, and locked onto her. And then it smiled. Its teeth weren't teeth at all. They were tiny, clear hooks. She didn't sleep that night. Mr. Vale didn't answer her calls. And when she opened the pool the next morning, Mia wasn't there. Instead, a wet towel lay by lane 5. And beside it, a long strand of black hair, coiled like it had been left for someone to find. Part 3, The Girl in Lane 5. By the end of the week, Mia still hadn't returned. Nora called the club's front office, but there was no record of the child. No sign-in, no parent names, no guest logs. "You must be mistaken," the receptionist said flatly. "That pool's been empty all week." That was a lie. Nora had seen her, watched her. And now she was gone, replaced by the memory of pale hands and black hair rippling beneath the surface like a whisper. She searched the locker rooms. Mia had never changed clothes, never used a locker, but Nora checked them all. In the far corner of the women's changing room, she found a drain that hadn't been used in years, ringed with black algae. A faint, salty smell rose from it. Beside it, a rubber bracelet, child-sized. Faded blue, with a single letter etched in silver. M. That night, Nora dreamed of water. Endless, cold, green water. Floating, not swimming. And below her, in the darkness, dozens of faces stared up. Not drowning. Waiting. Among them, Mia. Her eyes were open, but her mouth was sewn shut with fine silver wire. And she was smiling. Nora woke soaked in sweat. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number, lane 5. 2 a.m. Her heart froze. She tried to delete it. The message reappeared. Twice. Lane 5. 2 a.m. She went. Of course she did. The pool was locked, but her keys worked. Everything was silent. The moon hung low, bloated and yellow, casting light like oil across the surface. Nora stepped onto the deck. No one was there. Until she looked into the water. Mia was floating in lane 5. Not swimming, suspended. Upright, eyes closed, her hair fanned around her like a halo. Then her eyes snapped open. She mouthed something. Nora leaned closer, pressing her ear to the water. No sound. Just bubbles. Then, movement. The water behind Mia shifted. Something larger. Rising. Not fast. Not violent. Deliberate. Curious. It pressed close to the child. A hand reached around her, clawed and webbed. It wasn't pulling her down. It was lifting her up. As if Mia belonged to it. Or with it. Nora screamed and stumbled back. Mia blinked. Then, as slowly as she had come, she sank again, pulled gently under by something Nora couldn't see. Only when she was gone did Nora realize, the water had never rippled. Not once. She sat on the edge of the pool for hours, shivering. At dawn, when the sun broke the trees, she finally looked down again. No Mia. No creature. Just her own reflection. And then, for a moment, a second reflection beside hers. Smiling. With hooked teeth. Part 4, Filter Room. The door was marked pump access, staff only. Nora had never seen it opened. It was wedged between a maintenance closet and a moss-darkened shower stall. She hadn't even realized her keys could open it, until they did. The stairs beyond led down. Not just one level. Not two. It felt like a tunnel to the underworld, old stone, rusted railings, air heavy with mildew and salt. The lights flickered with an orange buzz, casting everything in a perpetual, briny dusk. At the bottom, the filter room. She stepped inside and gagged. The room was massive, low-ceilinged, and wet. Not damp. Dripping. The floor sloshed beneath her boots. Pipes pulsed overhead like arteries. Massive water tanks stood along the walls, their glass portholes dark and fogged. One of them hummed, deep, resonant, almost like breathing. She approached. Wiped the glass. And there it was. The thing. It floated just beyond the glass. Long and thin, but coiled tightly like a sleeper in the womb. Pale skin stretched too tightly over ridged bones. Hair drifted around it in strands like jellyfish tentacles. One eye opened slowly, huge and silver, pupil vertical like a catfish, and focused on her. Nora fell back, heart racing. Inside the tank, the creature smiled. She turned to flee, and stopped. On the far wall was a panel. Scratched. Rusted. But the buttons still worked. She pressed the light switch. The room behind the glass brightened. And what she saw made her stomach churn. There weren't just one. There were dozens. Rows of floating bodies. Some small. Some adult. All altered. Their limbs were longer than they should be. Their fingers webbed. Their skin bluish, faintly translucent. And each one had black stitches across their lips. Just like Mia. She found a clipboard hanging near the tanks. Faded ink. But legible. Subject 17 to 35 showing complete neural compliance. Aquatic transmutation stable at 96%. Memory residue strongest in adolescent swimmers. Proceed with Lane 5 lure protocol. Nora dropped it. She ran. Back in the locker room, she vomited twice. Then something clicked. She opened the swim club's lost and found. Dug through piles of forgotten goggles, sandals, towels. She found a photograph, stuck between the pages of a book. It showed the pool. From decades ago. And in the center, a row of smiling children in swim caps. In the middle, hand on her shoulder, was Mr. Vale. And beside him, unmistakable, Mia. Younger. Unchanged. Exactly the same. Nora stared at the photo until her fingers went numb. Then a voice echoed from the hallway. Wet. Muffled. Like someone speaking from underwater. The water keeps what it's given. Part 5, The Water Remembers. Nora's hands shook as she gripped the rusted railing leading back upstairs. That whisper, low and wet, circled her like fog. The water keeps what it's given. She didn't want to believe it. But Mr. Vale's past was catching up. She found him in his office, walls lined with old photographs and brittle newspaper clippings. The man's face was pale, almost waxen under the dim light, his eyes deep pools of tired regret. Why? Nora asked. Because the pool remembers, he said. And it demands tribute. He told her the story. Decades ago, the club was built over an ancient spring, fed by a forgotten underground river. The water was different, alive in ways people couldn't understand. Children started to disappear. Parents whispered of curses. But Mr. Vale's family made a pact, to keep the water fed, to bind it to the pool with sacrifice and ritual. The water takes, but it also gives, he said. It grants those it claims a second chance. He gestured to the photo of Mia. She's not lost. She's changed. Part of the pool now, and the pool waits for more. Nora felt a coldness creep through her bones. I won't let it take anyone else, she said. Mr. Vale smiled, a dry, brittle thing. You think you can stop it? The lights flickered, and suddenly, the pool was no longer quiet. A ripple spread across the water's surface, slow and deliberate. Then the deep end bubbled. From beneath, a face broke through the waves. Pale, elongated. Eyes like black pearls. The water whispered its hunger. Nora backed away, heart pounding, as the pool seemed to pulse and breathe. She realized then the terrible truth: the pool wasn't just water. It was a living prison. And it wanted her next. Part 6, Drain Me. Nora raced to the pump room, heart hammering like a drowning man's last gasp. The old control panel glowed faintly, water dripping from the ceiling. She knew what she had to do. Drain the pool. The valves creaked under her grip. Ancient pipes groaned. Water began to flow out, rushing through the drains like blood from a wound. But the pool didn't calm. It churned. From the deep end, bubbles surged. A shape rose slowly. Long limbs tangled in wet black hair. A mouth that opened wider than any human's could, revealing hook-like teeth. The creature reached for Nora, its voice a rasp in her mind. Stay, stay, stay. Nora ran. Slipping, crashing against wet tile. The water licked at her heels, cold and relentless. Behind her, the pool surged, flooding the pump room. She slammed the door. Breathless. But the water seeped through cracks, whispering promises of drowning and rebirth. Desperate, she grabbed a wrench. Hit the emergency stop switch. The water slowed. The creature's cries faded. Nora looked back at the pool. Now half empty, the black tiles were bare. No face. No hands. Only silence. But as she turned away, she caught sight of a single strand of black hair, drifting on the surface. And a whisper in the shadows. I'll come back. Part 7, Surface Tension. The pool was empty. Except for the chill that clung to the air like a second skin. Nora wiped her hands on her jeans, staring down at the cracked black tiles. No water. No monster. Just silence. Days passed. The club closed for repairs, but Nora couldn't leave. She stayed, watching, waiting. Each night she heard it, the soft sloshing of water that wasn't there. At first, she blamed exhaustion, but the feeling grew stronger. One evening, while cleaning, she felt a breath on her neck. Whispered words like a tide pulling her under. Come back. She spun around. Empty hallway. No one. She went to the pool deck. A thin sheen of moisture coated the floor. She knelt and traced a finger through it. The water rippled. Nora shivered. The pool wasn't gone. It was waiting. Later, the news broke. A swimmer found dead in a nearby lake. Drowned. No witnesses. No explanation. Nora's phone vibrated. A message from an unknown number: the water remembers you. The pool was never just a place to swim. It was a door. A promise. And a curse. Part 8, The bottom isn't the end. Nora couldn't escape the pool's pull. Every night, the whispers called her back. She found herself standing once more at the edge of the empty basin. The moon hung low and swollen, silver light pooling across the cracked tiles. The water returned. Slowly. Rising from the drains, seeping from the cracks. Filling the pool with a cold that seeped into her bones. And from the deep end, eyes opened. The creature was waiting. Not to kill. Not yet. To claim. To bind. To make her part of the endless, drowning legion beneath the surface. Nora dove in. Not to swim. But to fight. Underwater, the world twisted. The light bent, the water thickened like oil. Voices bubbled all around her. Faces, ghostly, pale, reached out with webbed hands. Mia's stitched mouth whispered, "Stay with us." Nora struggled, thrashing toward the surface. But the water pulled her down, deeper than the pool's floor. Into a cavern carved from stone and water. Where the river beneath the club pulsed like a living thing. At the cavern's heart, a throne of coral and bone. And on it, the source of the hunger. A creature ancient as the sea, half woman, half nightmare. Her eyes held the depths of the abyss. Her smile was the end of all things. "You came," she said. Nora screamed. But the voice wasn't in her ears. It was inside her mind. The creature reached out. Cold fingers brushed Nora's cheek. And in that moment, the pool was no longer water. It was life. And Nora was no longer afraid. Above, the surface rippled once. Then stilled. The club stood silent. Waiting. For the next.